Beginning from today, we will start our class on the benefits of the Vajra Guru Mantra. I think it will take us 2 days to complete this class, today and tomorrow. Why do we need to study the benefits of the Vajra Guru Mantra? In the past 2 days, Khenpo Sodargye had given the classes to the Tibetan drummers and lamas on this particular text, and many of them made the aspiration to chant the Padmasambhava mantra for 100,000 times. Many of you probably also heard of it, and many told me that they want to chant it as well. So I thought to myself, well, maybe I should translate this text into Chinese language as well. Because previously I requested Khenpo Sodargye to give teachings on this. And then since many of you asked me whether you should also chant it, so I looked into this text, and then I realized that this text looked very familiar, and I probably had already translated it. And when I look back into the whole translation, apparently I had already finished translating it over 10 years ago, back in 2009. It was the translation I did right after we studied the White Lotus, the Seven-Line Prayer. For that reason, I don't need to translate it again. And in the next 2 days, I will be giving this teaching to all of you. If you also want to make the aspiration to chant, for example, how many times, and then you can submit the number. In terms of the time limit, it is from now till the Parinirvana anniversary of Pontsuk Rinpoche, which is within 3 months. Many of you probably chant rather much slower than the Tibetan drummers and lamas, but I think it would be the best for you to chant it nevertheless. If you can chant for 10,000 times, that's good. If you can chant for 100,000 times, that would be even better. Nowadays, there are different kinds of platforms that we have, and it's very difficult to get the accurate number. For that reason, it would be the best for you to just submit the number to your groups. Today we will talk about the benefits of the Vajra Guru Mantra, which is really necessary in this degenerated age. The sentient beings are burdened with loads of afflictions and all kinds of earth, water, fire, and wind related catastrophes happening all over the world as well. For that reason, it is the best for us to supplicate to Padmasambhava, who is the one that is the essence of the Buddhas of the 3 times. We need to supplicate him so that he can grant us blessings. That is why I would like to give you the teachings on this particular text as well. Apparently, there are 2 aspects of this text. The first aspect of this text is about the benefits of the Vajra Guru Mantra, and then the second half of the text is an explanation of all the 12 syllables of the Vajra Guru Mantra. Later, we will further look at each of the syllables and what they represent. This short text, in fact, is a terma concealed by Padmasambhava. Speaking of Padmasambhava, I'm sure you must be very familiar with him. We should know that he is not a mythical character, nor a character from a folklore. He was a great master who truly appeared in this world throughout the human history. Nowadays, there are people slandering Padmasambhava by saying that, oh, he can't be a real person, and he must be a character who only existed in folklore, so on and so forth. But those are not a reasonable explanation at all. He was a person who truly existed throughout history. We can see records of him in historical texts, just like Shakyamuni Buddha and great numbers of the really great people that appeared in this world. They all have the date of birth and date of passing, except that there are different historical records. But in terms of Padmasambhava, the most recognized explanation is that Shantarakshita first came to Tibet. And at that time, because of all the Maras and evil spirits in Tibet were creating lots of obstacles to Shantarakshita to spread the Dharma, that is why Shantarakshita requested Padmasambhava to come to Tibet so that Dharma can be spreaded over here. That is why Padmasambhava came to Tibet and subjugated these Maras and the spirits, and then made a firm foundation for Dharma to flourish in Tibet. So when we look at the timeline, Shantarakshita came to Tibet in 763 CE, and according to some historical books, that since there was a great debate between Buddha Dharma and the Bon tradition, that was the time when Padmasambhava had already came to Tibet. So we can look at the timeline in such a way that back in 770, Padmasambhava had already came to Tibet. There is a text called Samba Buddhism History, or History of Buddhism. It is a very trustworthy source. It was composed by Samba Yishin Jungni. I bought this text when I was still studying in Garze. The author had clearly described the dates and records within that text. How long had Padmasambhava stayed in Tibet then? There are different records still. Some great masters from Junampa would say that he stayed in Tibet for 8 months, some said 110 years, but the most widely recognized timeline is 56 years. So Padmasambhava stayed in Tibet for 56 years. Within that time period, he went to Vesar area and Ando area and Kham area. While he was traveling through different areas in Tibet, he concealed various dharmas as well, and he subjugated different spirits, created different gompas for Buddhism, and plant a firm foundation for Dharma to flourish. The gompas, including Samye, and over there 7 people got ordained, and all began from there. Dharma started to flourish, and the root cause for Dharma to flourish is because of Padmasambhava. Without Padmasambhava, the Dharma, including Maha Ati, cannot flourish all over the world right now. Historians nowadays found out that when they investigate into the whole route of how Padmasambhava came to Tibet, they saw a very clear route. At first, he subjugated the spirits around Yanglarshu and different kinds of spirits around Nepal and so on. After he attained realization of Mahamudra, he used the purba to subjugate different maras and spirits over there. The different kinds of spirits, including the earth spirits or the mountain spirits of Tangla-Yangshu, on the way to Tibet, he purposely irritated this mountain spirit. He burned some mutton and he kicked over the pot that burned mutton to irritate the spirit, because the spirits really hate the foul smell of burnt animal flesh and animal skin. Nowadays we have lots of barbecue, and barbecue is a way to irritate the earth spirits. That is why in Tibet we have the habit to burn some juniper twigs if milk that we burn. If at times we heat up the milk and they would get boiled and splash over, we would burn some juniper twigs to pacify the earth spirits. Anyhow, Padmasambhava specifically and purposely irritated Tangla-Yarshu mountain spirit. I'm not sure if he was the father of the Dakini Wisar or Saracandro, because Saracandro's father was also a mountain spirit. Anyhow, that spirit was extremely angry and started to manifest all kinds of threatening signs, including lightning and thunder and so on. Padmasambhava used his threatening mudra and subjugated the spirit. He used various kinds of miraculous performances or miraculous power to call for avalanche and so on. So the spirit then later became a protector over there. In fact, in Tibet, the protectors, the mountain spirits and earth spirits in Tibet are different than the other places because they've been subjugated by Padmasambhava. As long as the practitioner do not irritate them or disturb them, they would definitely help the Buddhist practitioners. In terms of the terma of Padmasambhava, we know that within the teachings of Nyingma, there are two aspects. One aspect is the treasure of teachings, which are the lineage of the tantras, and then the other aspect is the terma, and terma usually are the precious teachings that's been concealed by Padmasambhava. For example, we have a Rinchen Docho, a collection of Rinchen Do, or a collection of terma treasures. It was back in 11th century, or maybe 12th century, the great Turton Sanji Lama, all the way from the 12th century Sanji Lama to the 19th century great Turton, whose name is Dechin Lampa. The Dechin Lampa is not the same Dechin Lampa to the one that we're very familiar with, who is the Turton of Doma Monastery. Rather, was a different Turton. Anyhow, there were over 100 Turtons, and their terma all being collected into 63 volumes. And it was edited by Gongce Yangco Gyatso as well as Jiangyang Jamyam Kinsawampo. The over 100 tertones and their termas being collected in one particular collection. So we can see that the great numbers of termas that were concealed by Padmasambhava and then reviewed by the great tertones later on definitely flourish in Tibet.